Hey everybody, it's Jane. Couple of things I want to go over today because I've gotten quite a bit of questions about one, what thread I use, two, what stitch I use for both my hand piecing and for my doll clothes making. So I want to go over that today in more detail. When I'm sewing doll clothes, most of the time I sew by hand. And you can see there all little tiny hand stitches, which I find really satisfying. This is a chemise. I'll link the pattern and the tutorial. And this is made with Liberty of London cotton lawn. And the reason I'm telling you that is that I'm going to go over what kind of thread I use with this and finer cottons. And then for my hand piecing, which I'm a lefty and my left arm is actually killing me because I've been doing so much because I'm determined to get my swirling stars quilt top done. But this is all hand pieced. And I love doing it. For the full tutorial on this, just look in my other videos and I give you a free swirling star pattern for this size swirling star. And if you want to make these really cute tiny ones, you just shrink it down when you print it. So first off, I always 100% use cotton thread. I do not use polyester. I don't like polyester thread. I find that if I'm going to put in all this effort into either hand piecing or machine piecing on my machine, I'm going to use cotton thread. I use cotton fabric and I use cotton thread. If I'm using silk or wool, I use cotton thread. Now there are cotton wrapped polyester threads. Now the cotton fibers that are wrapped around the polyester will eventually wear off and they can make little holes in your quilt because polyester is plastic and it's strong and it can break those cotton fibers. That's just a rule for me. That doesn't mean you can't use polyester. You should use what is what you like the most. I make heirloom projects like this little doll quilt and everything is cotton. Even my quilting thread, my batting, everything 100%. That's my thing. So for my piecing, my hand piecing, I go between two threads. And the one that I've been using a lot lately is this. Now I wrote it down so I don't, because I could always get mixed up. This is a 60 weight 2-ply cotton. And I love it. I love it. I love this thread. And these are old. I've had these spools forever. This is Metler. And it's really nice. It's very thin and fine. It doesn't get into a lot of knots. I'm going to talk about that also. And I use it lately for most of my piecing. This is also what I use for my doll clothes because it's fine enough to go with this really fine cotton lawn. You don't want to really, like this is another thread I really like. It's actually an unglazed quilting thread by Metler, and it's thicker, but it's so much thicker that I think it would make holes in this Liberty Tana lawn. So this is what I use. I also use it for my piecing of my swirling star. And I'm going to show you this stitch. That's the second thing we're going to go over because people were asking me, well, what stitch do you use for piecing, for your hand piecing? So I'm going to show you that too. So this I've been using a lot. I also love the Scan Fill cotton thread. This is organic. I love that it's on wood spools. It is, I think this is a 3-ply thread. It's definitely a slightly bit thicker, and it's also a little fuzzier. Like this one, I think they call it a silk finish, is just much, much smoother. That doesn't make a big difference to me because I use beeswax, but the Scanfil is a beautiful cotton thread that I love to use. So that's what I use for all of my hand piecing now. For my machine, I bought, because I've got like 2 other spools of this. I'm running low and I use my machine a lot. So I bought Aurifil. This is made in Italy, 100% cotton. And I believe that this is 50 weight, yes, which is a universal, it's like the most common weight that I found, cotton. And this is a really, really beautiful cotton. And honestly, when I run out of my Metler, I'll just take this off the spool and use this for hand piecing. It's beautiful. The other thing I wanted to talk about, because I have a lot of vintage cottons, and I also want to talk about color. Obviously for white things like this, I use white thread. But I was following somebody, and I don't know who it is. If I remember, I'll put her in the comments. But for piecing like this, she uses gray. She uses gray thread, and I realize that I should probably do the same because it will blend with everything. Not that you can really see the stitches coming out, you know, this kind of a, you know, when you're stitching and pressing, but it would be good if you're using really dark fabrics maybe, or a variety. So consider that. Use a gray, maybe for English paper piecing when you're using a whip stitch. I'm gonna do another video on that. So I wanted to say that. And somebody asked me, Jane, do you use your vintage cottons? And yes, I do. I make sure they're strong. I give them a pull. I don't leave them in the sun, but I use them all the time. I don't use them in my machines. I use them for handwork, and I love them. Look at that beautiful sheen on this Coats & Clark cotton thread. It's absolutely gorgeous. And that I might even use for quilting. I think that would be really, really beautiful. And the last thing I want to show you about thread are quilting threads. Now this is Metler, this is 100% cotton, and it's for quilting, right? So our top stitching, our stitch that we use to put the whole quilt together. And this one is glazed. And I do love these glazed quilting cottons because then I don't have to use beeswax. It's like already done. It's glazed. They're really, really strong. And they come in really nice colors. And again, 100% cotton. So there you go. Let me look at my notes here. Oh, the last thing I want to try is linen thread. Before cotton was available, and it was a while, people used linen fabric, linen thread. So I am going to order a spool of linen thread and give it a shot. I don't know why I'm so nervous about using it. I'm just going to do it. To prepare my thread, I take it off the spool. Now I am guilty of taking too long of a length off. Yours should only probably be about from your wrist to your elbow. What is that, 18 inches? Not longer, because it's gonna knot. It does fatigue as you're sewing through fabric. But I take off a piece. Now, you saw me pull this. The piece of thread, right, this part, the one that you're pulling, this end, is the one you're gonna thread through your needle. Do not turn it around, because there's definitely a grain to thread, right? So this is smooth and this is rougher feeling, and you'll feel that. All right, so that's what you have to remember to do. Get your beeswax. I have a massive chunk of beeswax, and I just run it over once. You hear that little squeak. twice. And then I get that end. And I saw somebody in a video actually take the thread like this, fold paper over it, and then iron it to kind of melt the wax into the thread. I'm not going to do that. I can tell you, sounds like a great idea. I just know I'm not going to do it. I do so much handwork, I'm not even near my iron. But what I do is I take the warmth of my finger, I'll just kind of run my fingers down the thread a couple of times, and then I thread my needle, and I'm good to go. Now I'm going to put this aside, and now we're going to talk about the stitch, because I got more questions about that. So I have, let me get in closer here. Okay, so here are my pieces. I pinned them. I'm following my pencil line. Again, you could find the full tutorial for this on my channel with the free pattern. So I'm going to take out my pin, grab my needle. I think this is a number 9 tulip piecing needle. I'm not sure, but I like these, nice and long. But I'm going to go in, all right. Take a stitch. Oh, you got to make sure those lines are aligned. See, I've got a long piece of thread there. And now I'm going to go and take a lock stitch or a back stitch, right? Just another stitch over this. I start and end all my piecing that way. Let me get that little tail out of there. Okay. And then I just take my needle, put it down. I'm not using a thimble. You can, absolutely. And I just push the fabric onto the needle. All right. Oop. Now there, see how high up it is above my pencil line. So let's fix that. Again, you put your needle in. Anyway, it's because I'm doing it for the camera. It's close enough for this. And then every 4 or 5 stitches, every time I go in and pull up, I do a back stitch. And this is what's going to make a nice, strong seam. So let's do that again. And you see me pushing the fabric onto the needle. Right? And the smaller your stitches, the stronger your seam is going to be. So you work on those small stitches. Okay, I did that. Another back stitch. Take my pin out. And you get into a rhythm, and you can really get a lot of sewing done. Imagine this is how people sewed before they had machines, everything. So there are my stitches on there. Don't over pull your thread. You don't want it to be taut. You don't want it to be super loose, but you don't want it to gather. Do a back stitch. And then I go right up to this little section here, and I'm going to show you what I do with that seam allowance. So there it is. And when I get to either side of a seam like this that I'm sewing through, I like to do a back stitch because I feel like those are going to be the areas, you know, that pieces are put together that are going to be put under more strain as the quilt is used. And then all I do is I go through right, you know, at the top of this stitch where these two stitching lines intersect, and I just go through to the other side like this. And then same thing, go down, make sure I'm on the other side's line, do a lock stitch, and then you just continue like this. And because I'm doing it for the camera, honestly, a little bit slower, you'll get into such a rhythm with this that you won't even think about it. You'll have pieces done very, very quickly. It's really satisfying. The finer your needle, the finer your stitches are going to be. And that is the goal. Oops, I forgot to do a back stitch there. Let's do one here. And you see me turning it over. I'm making sure that I'm staying on track. Now when I'm sewing doll clothes and I'm using a running stitch like this, I don't put in a back stitch. My doll Meredith isn't running around, right? Gonna wreck her dress. But for a quilt, you really do want to have a strong seam. Back stitch. Oops, picked up a little piece of thread there. All right, and then I'll show you how I end it. All right, so I do one more back stitch or lock stitch like that, and then I just make a knot, 1, 2, 3. I go around 3 times because again, this is a finer yarn, thread, and that's it. Snip it off. And we have our seam. There it is, nice and strong. And once you master this, which isn't going to take you very long, just get some pieces, get a really simple pattern. This one's a great one. And just practice. Just keep your stitches regular and as small as you can possibly make them. And you're going to be good to go. This is also the same stitch that I'm using for these curved seams, right? And one of my goals this year was to tackle hand piecing curved seams, and it's the same thing. Little tiny stitches. Every few stitches I do a back stitch, and you are good to go. And that's it, you guys. I just wanted to show you those. Any questions at all, please ask in the comments. I will post the threads that I mentioned today, what I used, you know, the beeswax, and you probably have so much of this stuff already. Go look in your sewing basket. You probably have a little beeswax thread conditioner in the round plastic holder. The thread, please make sure you're using cotton thread, especially with hand piecing, because you're making, you know, you're putting in all that love and effort and you want it to last. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll also put a link into this pattern for you guys, which is free. Have a good one, everybody. Happy stitching.